Hello, good day, and welcome. My name is Kuro John Ngobo. Oops. I would be speaking today on the concept of cultivating deep connections through emotional intelligence. Cultivating deep connections through emotional intelligence. First of all, why do you even need deep connections in the first place? What's the relevance with regards to you just living your life? And then how does emotional intelligence help you to do that? That will be the conversation today. So pay attention, get a pen and a jotter. That's very, very important. Get a pen and a jotter. Get something you can write with. Get something you can write with, make it available to you so that you can join today's session and take very, very good notes from the session. All right. So again, my name is Kuro John Ngobo. Like I said, I will be introducing myself and I'll be showing you my slides in the next minute or two. I'd have a story to tell, but I think I should tell my story by showing you a few pictures about me, the things that have happened to me in the past. If you can hear me clearly, I'm going to repeat an instruction. The only instruction I'm going to give you for the rest of today is twofold. The first part of the instruction is this. If you are a part of this session, you have two things you need to do. The first one is clear your table, clear your desk, clear your space, and have enough time to pay attention and be a part of this session. That's the first thing you need to do. And make sure you get a pen and a jotter with you. Make sure you get a pen and a jotter with you. Make sure you get a pen and a jotter with you. Put one next to you. Let it be available so that you can take down notes as we go along. That's very, very important. The second part of the conversation, second thing I want to tell you is I will go through the session from start to finish. When I'm done, I would expect you to drop your questions. If you are listening to this live, drop the questions in the chat section at the end of the session. And then everybody would eventually get both the questions and the answers to those questions as well. Okay, so pay attention, fasten your seatbelts, buckle up, and join me on this very brief journey of how to cultivate deep connections through emotional intelligence. My name again is Kuro John Ngobo. My slides, which will serve as a guide, have just come up. I wanted to be sure they were up before I began to speak. So here we go. My name is Kuro once again. And this is my story. Many years ago, well, actually a few years ago, in the country of Nigeria and West Africa, I was born to Alice and Ibibo, James Ngobo, and that is a picture of me as a kid. I was born on Lagos Island in the bustling commercial city of Lagos. I went to secondary school in the northern part of the country, in Kano, in a unity school. So I had friends from different states of Nigeria as classmates at the time. When I finished at secondary school, I ended up going to the University of Ibadan, the premier university, the first university in Nigeria. Now, between when I finished secondary school and got into university, or college as you call it in other parts of the world, I worked 5 jobs. I got a job and began to earn before I got into university. Now, my time in university was very eventful, very, very eventful. But when I got in, I first of all set a goal for myself. I want to leave the university with great grades, and I didn't want to have an extra year. And I wrote my specific goals down on a sheet of paper, scrunched it up, and threw it away. And I spent my entire 5 years or 4 sessions in university working towards that goal and telling no one else what it was until my goal was met. After I left university, I started my work life working in banking. Started first as a core member, serving my nation in a bank called Standard Trust Bank. Then I went to GT Bank or Guarantee Trust Bank months after. Ended up in Access Bank and then United Bank for Africa. When I got into banking too, I also set a goal similar to the one I set in university. And so I was able to go through banking, spend 16 years. Today, briefly speaking, or just saying this mildly or introduce myself quickly, today I am a learning and development professional. What I do is help to upskill people or change behavior, improve your skills, or enact, institute, inspire a change in behavior by communicating what I've learned, what I'm learning, and whatever the client wants. Today's conversation is about you and other people, with emotional intelligence being the lever to enhance those relationships. Okay? Now, I'll start from the beginning of beginnings. There are two major religions in the world today, Islam and Christianity, and both religions agree to one thing: the story of the first man and woman, Adam and Eve. Now, Adam and Eve, as the story goes, ate the forbidden fruit, were asked to leave the Garden of Eden, and they left the Garden of Eden with nothing. Now, that singular event has led me to come up with three theories, three very basic theories. And theories are essentially things you come up with, and then people can test over time to see if it works that way or not. So follow me as I share these three theories with you. The first one is that Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden with nothing. They left with absolutely nothing when they left the Garden of Eden. Secondly, when they got into the world, everything in the world was natural. Nothing was man-made. Birds, trees, grass, animals, plants, the seas, water, everything was man-made. However, the world, plus 2,000 years after, maybe 10,000 years after, we're still debating how long we've been around, has evolved since. Now you can watch me do this from one part of the world, even though you're in the United States, in America, in Canada, in the UK, because man has evolved and produced and created many new things. My third theory is that between then, the time of Adam and Eve, and today, everything created was created from the mind of a man. Not that a supreme deity came to the world and said, mankind needs a jet, let's create a jet for them. No, man created everything. The internet, mobile phones, cars, laptops, projectors, TVs, everything we know. That's how powerful the mind of a man or woman is. And I dare say, your mind is your most powerful resource. Your mind is your most powerful resource. But your mind is not an organ in your body. In fact, where's the mind? So here's the thing to pay attention to. Your mind is not your heart, your liver, your lungs, your brain, is none of those organs. And this is the way every human being is formed. Basically, human life begins from a cell, the smallest single unit of life. I don't want to go further down to protons and neurons. Let's just stick to cells, the smallest visible single unit of life. Cells come together to form tissues. Tissues come together to form organs like your heart, your liver, your lungs. And when those organs work together, they work together as a system, like your digestive system. Food gets into your mouth, goes through your esophagus into your stomach, and then your small intestine, like large intestine, small intestine, and all of that. Your reproductive system, your respiratory system, together. That's who you are. That's who I am. That's how I'm created. That's essentially how I am. That's the composition of every human being. So where does the mind fit in? The mind is not an organ. I said that before. Now, many books, many philosophers, many people, even scriptures, refer to the mind as the heart. It does not mean that the organ, the heart, is the mind. What happens is your mind, which is in your brain, receives information. When it receives the information triggers a feeling, triggers an emotion at some point. And whenever that happens, your first responder is your heart. Your heart starts to beat fast when you're afraid or excited. Your heart decelerates and beats slower when you are saddened by bad news. So your mind is actually in your head. Yes, your mind is in your head. But your mind is not an organ, like I said before. It's like a room in your head that contains a few things about you. Your thinking, your feeling, your imagination, your memory, language, all of those things live in your brain, but are controlled by specific organs. So what happens is every day, every time information comes to you, it goes through your senses, gets to your brain, and then all those organs begin to speak to one another. Your memory tells you this is salt, not sugar. Because you've tasted salt before, you've been told it is salt. your feelings get triggered, and that's essentially how the human body works. Now, all these messages go to your brain through 5 senses. Sight, or the sense of sight, which is the eyes, the sense of hearing, which is your ear, the organ is your ear, the organ tongue, the sense of taste, feeling or touch, and it's not just your hands, your entire skin cover. Your skin is the largest organ in your body, and it also receives messages and sends to your brain. Like, you can feel your pen with your hand, you can feel your feet with your ground, or the ground you stand on, or the shoes you're wearing with your feet right now. So your skin is another organ, and then of course your nose for smell. So every day messages come from outside your body, goes through one of these organs, and goes to your brain. And it starts off on this journey going the same direction every time. So I've done a scan of my brain, or put a picture of what my brain would look like, and separated into 3 parts so that this is easy to understand. The messages that go to your brain through your 5 senses, first of all, get to your survival brain. And in your survival brain, your brain asks one question: is this a life or death situation? If your brain thinks it's a life or death situation, then you most likely would react. You would react, not respond. Now, to react is to say or do something without much thinking. To respond is to say or do something after some thinking. If your brain suggests that what has happened, the message that has come in, is life-threatening, you most likely would react and do or say something without any much thinking, or without much thinking, rather. Now, if your brain says it's not life or death, then the same message will swim up to your feeling brain or your emotional brain and trigger an emotion: anger, sadness, happiness, excitement. Boredom is a feeling when you don't feel interested in anything going on around you. Greed is a feeling when you want everything for yourself. Love, the most confusing of feelings, which I've started to research recently as a secondary emotion. So actually, it sounds like, it looks like, it feels like love is not something that gets triggered. What happens is you get joy and affection as the primary feelings. Then they lead you to begin to feel love when affection and joy comes in. Anyways, there are so many feelings. All those feelings that get triggered sit in a place in your brain called the amygdala, a small bin-like object. All your emotions sit there. Your memory sits in one organ, your thinking, all of those things are happening in different parts of your brain, and they communicate when messages get to your brain. Now, if you do something or say something based on the feeling triggered, you are most likely also going to react, say or do something without thinking. And most times when you react, you actually regret. But if you let the message go to your thinking brain first, before you say or do anything, then you will respond. To respond is to say or do something after some thought. I was on a call with somebody one day, and I still feel awkward about it. And after a bit of what seemed like an altercation, the line suddenly cut from the other person's end. I assumed the person cut the line, and I reacted to that. Later on, the person said, my battery ran out. And of course, you can imagine how cold as I got poured on my person. I'm of course speaking metaphorically. Many times, if we just wait a little bit, we can let the message swim through the thinking brain and think about possible scenarios, perspectives, before we say or do anything. But this is what happens to us every day as people. Messages go to your brain, the different parts of your brain controlling language, memory, thinking, imagination, creativity. All those things begin to talk together, and then they form an impression of what has happened, rather. And then you get to respond or react based on the impression formed. But before I leave this particular page or picture, I need to tell you something real quick. The interpretation you give to things is largely a function of the person you are, not the thing that happened. The thing that happened would give you a reason to have to interpret something, will give you information to work with. Your interpretation is largely a function of who you are, and not just who you are, but your mindset, the way you normally process information, interpret things. It is formed as you grow over time. Experience can help you form it. The outcome of things you've done before can help you form it, but this is important. And this kind of brings us to understand what emotional intelligence a little more. What it is a little more. Because In your mind, these things happen all the time. You think when you logically put 2 plus 2 to become 4. You think when you say, if I go out in the rain, I'm going to get wet. You think when you get messages to go all the way to your thinking brain before you do anything about it. Now, thinking is logical. Very important in life. Most of us make money from thinking. Most of us think before we decide on what to do with the money we get in our hands. We think when we take a decision on what to do with people that, are in our space every day. But we also feel. Sometimes to feel can be defined as to surmise, to assume something is true, even though you have no evidence that it is true. To feel is not to think. But guess what? The way you think and feel determines your attitude towards things. In fact, the simple dictionary definition for attitude is the way you think and feel about things. The way you think and feel about things. So today I ask you quickly, what do you think and feel about your country, your partner, your kids, your parents, your classmates, your job? What do you think and feel about the transport system, about the world, your faith, your religion? That is your attitude, your mindset, the way you relate with these things, the way you interpret them all the time. And the way you think and feel will lead you to do. The way you think and feel will lead you to do. Someone hits you in the face, whether you respond or react, whether you hit them back or run away, it's a function of the way you think and feel. And did you know, having expressed that, you should know this now, did you know that you are always responsible for anything you say or do, irrespective of what the other person said or did? You can't hit me in the face and say it's because I called you stupid. You are responsible for hitting me in the face. Oh, he made me angry. He made me sad. Nobody makes you anything. People provide information. People do things that trigger things in you. But what you do in response, or what you say in response, is 100% your responsibility. I read up somewhere recently that when someone does or says something to you and you get angry, note that taking offense and being offended can be two different things. You can take offense even when there's no offense in the first place, because of the way you see what the person did, because of the way you interpret what that person did. You are always responsible for what you say or do. And how do I know this for sure? Because I know everybody has a locus of control. There are some things that you have control over. Some things you don't. You have influence. You can influence something, but you can't control it. You can't control the weather. Well, some people say they can, but you really can't control the weather. You can influence it. You can't control what other people do. You can influence it. This is very important. You can't control what other people do, but you can influence them. Show them a reason to do different. Treat them in a way that makes them consider a different line of action. But you can't control what other people do. What you have control over, 100%, is what you say and what you do. Picture how much what you say and what you do affects relationships that you are trying to grow, trying to nurture, or how you connect with people. You are always in control of what you say or do. So always focus on what you can control and what you can influence when you take decisions. I like this quote that I heard a long time ago, that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. It is so true. Somebody speaks to me in a particular manner and I walk out on the person. What happened to me is 10%. My response to it is 90%. I'll give you an example of how this makes a difference in people's lives. So 3 people get sacked on the job at the same time, right? The first person gets another job. The second person starts a business. The third person commits suicide. Question: what was the difference in what happened to the 3 of them? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. They all got sacked at work, but their response to it was completely different. So look up Charles Swinton's quote: life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond, not react, respond to it. Always focus on what you have control over, and it usually makes the outcome what we want the outcome to be. So everyone has a locus of control. Which reminds me of this great, great prayer that I talk about a lot and I'm trying to imbibe. A simple prayer that says, God grant me the serenity. So I mean, serenity, sorry, means calmness of mind. So God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I can't change this, so I have to accept it. The courage to change the things I can, because what you tolerate, you should not complain about. And then the wisdom to know the difference. You are in your house, you want to get out, and it's raining cats and dogs. You have no control over the rain. You should think about it. You could feel awkward about it. You have an appointment. Oh, it's your wedding day. You can go on and on with all the important reasons why you have to go out. If you can't control the rain, stop worrying about the rain. What can you control? Your response to the fact that it's raining. You could get a raincoat or an umbrella, dash into your car, put on your headlights and your hazard lights, drive slowly, but still go to the destination you intended to go to. Or will you just stay at home and wait for the rain to subside? You have control over that. You have no control over the rain. Someone did something, you have no control over what the person did. Can you influence it? Possibly. So when something happens to me, I'll give you an example of how I address things sometimes. Many times, as a matter of fact, and I'm hoping it becomes permanent for me. When something happens, I first want to ask this question: do I have control over this? If I have control over it, do something. If you don't have control, if I don't have control over it, then I'm asking myself, who has control over it? Sometimes the person who has control over it is the supreme deity you believe in, is God. I'm a Christian. God, Jehovah, is the one who has control over certain things that I have no control over. So I reach out to him. It could be someone else, my next door neighbor, my wife, my partner, my in business, my colleague at work, somebody in the organization I'm talking to. That's the person I should reach out to. The quicker I decide to take a decision like that, the faster I can close the loop of that problem persisting. The faster I can close the problem out and move on to something else. And hey, because I mentioned God, some people think God has control over everything. He's given us powers over certain things. There are things you have control over. You decide what you want to do in many situations. And then the most important part is the wisdom to know the difference. If you can tell the difference between what you have control over and what you don't have control over, then it always helps you to calmly take a sensible decision. That's where serenity comes to play. So, to what extent do you have control over the outcomes and events in your life? Some people say, oh, it's destiny. I have no hand in what I become in life. Why did you go to university? Why did you pick up the form? Why did you go to primary school? Why did you buy the lottery ticket in the first place? If you had absolutely no control or no influence over the outcome, you always have a role to play. Why don't you just sit, do nothing, and say, destiny says I will be a rich man. I don't have to do anything to become a rich man. Why is that the case? Case in point, when I got into Guaranty Trust Bank, when I started working full-time post-university, by the way, I didn't mention that I had 2 master's degrees while I was working in banking. I have a master's degree in managerial psychology and another one in entrepreneurship and innovation. But back to my career, where it began. Excuse me, I got the offer letter to work in GT Bank. I was in training for 4 months, doing nothing else but training to be a banker. When this 4-month period was over, I was supposed to resume. So I was deployed to resume in a branch. First, I was deployed to customer service. I said, no, I'd like to work in marketing. I like to talk. I like to meet people. I like to travel. I said that about myself when I left primary school. This year would make it like 30 years ago. I chose to do marketing. But that wasn't the important part. I went to HR and I asked the question, how do you move from one level to the next? Because I wanted to get to a certain level within 10 years. And they told me 2 things are involved. First, your appraisal score. The score you get after every year's appraisal determines how close you are to being promoted. The higher your score, the higher your chances. Second was my line manager's recommendation. If the person you work with directly doesn't recommend you, why should we promote you? So I left and again wrote on a sheet of paper, I want to be a full manager in 10 years. 10 years, 2 months down the line, promotion list came out and I was a full manager. There's something you have control over. Even today, in the state you are in, you are broke or you are buoyant. You have a job or you have work. You have a partner or you don't have a partner. There's something you can control and there's a portion you can influence. Focus on those two, and usually you can determine the outcome of anything in your life. All right. Now, in everybody's life, speaking of life, you have minimum eight different parts to you. And what you should do is to pay attention to all eight parts. In fact, you should be setting goals in all eight parts. I'll talk about them real quickly, just for a few seconds for each of them. I'll start with the spiritual. Now, before anything is seen, it is first conceived in the spiritual. I'll put it this way. There is the unseen before it becomes manifest in life. And it's facts, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, it's what people think of things in their minds when they've not seen it before it comes to life. Go back to the third theory, that man's mind created everything. What got the first mind to create light, or the light bulb? Failed at it so many times, still went and continued trying it. The person who made the wheels, who made the plane. So there's a spiritual dimension to man. Sometimes spirituality does not mean religion. It's having depth with the way you look at things in life, having depth with the way you see the outcome of things. For instance, choosing to forgive somebody not because the person has come clean or the person has changed their ways, but because you want peace. Choosing to diffuse anger because anger boils you up, eats you up, but sometimes does absolutely nothing to the person who triggered it. That's what spirituality means. Thinking from a deep perspective. How does this thing connect to this thing? Next level is intellectual, or your mind. Or your mind. What do you feed your mind with? How does your mind relate with the rest of the world? How do you interpret things? Your mind leads to a mindset. The set way your mind operates. Some people have mindsets like, if somebody around me is rich, they should make me rich too, or they should give me handouts. Nobody owes me anything. Nobody owes me anything. If I reach out to someone who has money and they don't give me the money, I know they have the money. I could have a feeling triggered where I'm angry or disappointed, but I try not to make it last long. You know why? It's their money. They worked for it, not mine. If I want to have control over what happens to me with regards to money, I should work and earn my own. Some people's mindsets include things like, once we're from the same area, we have to be brothers. People, for instance, respect is reciprocal. People think it means you should give me respect first before I give you respect. No, the way it's supposed to work is I give everybody respect first. If you reciprocate, it continues. If you don't, I know I'll shut it down. How does your mind think? What do you feed your mind with? And I'll talk about that a bit later on. Then the third dimension is physical, your body. If your health, what you eat, what you drink, whether or not you exercise, and how you sleep are the major aspects of physical. If you don't pay attention to those things and something goes wrong there, everything else suffers. Social is you in relation to other people. Do you have a network today? And I'll be pointed about this. Your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. Sorry for that distraction. Your network is your net worth. What does this mean? You can go farther if you have more quality people in your life. Not just more people, pay attention. More quality people in your life. So today I'm asking you a few questions I think you should ponder over. How many people do you have to call to raise a certain amount of money if you're in trouble, to bail you out of some troublesome situation? Do you have a network of people you can call when you are really feeling down in your spirit and there's someone who can help you lift your spirits? Are you someone who constantly talks about people not checking up on you? They don't care about you. And have you juxtaposed that with how you check up on people? Do you check up on people at all? If you needed someone to help you get a visa to another country from the country you live in today, do you know somebody in your network who can? Do you have a pool of friends, colleagues, some people who can help you find something aside Google? If you want quality in your network, you have to be deliberate about it. And being social doesn't only mean hanging out with people, going to parties and to clubs and stuff. You go when you need to go. If you work somewhere and you never attend anybody's party because you say, I'm an introvert, I don't like going out, people will naturally think that you're not a great person to hang out with. You're not a great person as a whole. It will affect how they perceive you, how they relate with you. So sometimes you attend colleagues' birthday parties so that you can be a part of the whole thing. By the way, birthday party is supposed to help you unwind, de-stress. This conversation is tied to social, but I started out with you first. No man is an island. It's not a cliche. It's not a quote. It's a fact. So let's assume you had all the money in the world. How would you spend it without people like us being available to provide what you want to buy? Let's say you made the best shoes in the world. Who would help you produce the shoes in quantities that will make you money? Who would help you sell the shoes? Who buy the shoes? You need people. Bottom line, you need people. Do you need plenty of people? Not necessarily. Quality people, fantastic, but you need people. And you cannot have people in your life by wishing it into existence. No, you have people in your life by doing deliberate stuff about it. So social, I'm moving from there. The reason why I spent some time on social is because that's why you joined this session in the first place. That's why you're listening to me. Then there's occupational, your career. What you do for a living. Everybody should be doing something for a living. Everybody above 18 with a skill of some sort should be doing something for a living. You should pay attention to it. Your emotional speaks to your feelings, and you must learn to manage those feelings. Feelings get us into trouble a lot of times. Feelings help us to spend money that we don't plan to spend. I like those shoes. How much are they? $45. I only have $30 in my account. I take a loan to buy it just because I like it. I don't need it. At this point in time, I can do without it and I can't afford it, but I still buy it. Feelings are that strong. Then there's financial. Money makes the world go round. And some people have read in different places and said things like, let me see how they put this. Money is the root of all evil. That is not true. The love of money is the root of all evil. When you have an excessive love for money that can do anything for it, yes, you are heading into trouble. That doesn't mean that just having money helps everything else work. All right? And then your environmental, your space. How do you declutter when you need to? How do you determine who's in your space? The environment you work in helps you to produce more. The environment you live in helps you to sleep better. These are 8 dimensions of anybody's life. You need to begin to pay attention to them, not just 1 or 2. You have all the money in the world and you're ill, your money is going to disappear. You don't feed your mind right, your social network will be broken down. Okay? And in all of this conversation about who you are, managing different dimensions of yourself, your mind is extremely important in bringing them all together. Your mind is your most powerful resource. Even a man who has no job in his hands, he has a good head on his shoulders. That's how we say it. When you have the mind that can think, create, produce, you constantly get things going around you. Your mind is your most powerful resource. Your most powerful resource. However, there is one thing that can cause disruption in your mind. There's one thing that can always cause disruption in your mind, and it is your emotions or your feelings. Your emotions or your feelings, they are so strong, they can cause a disruption in your life. Once your mind gets disturbed by an emotion or a very strong emotion for that matter, there are many things that could be put on hold. You can't continue to do just because of that. Your emotions are very strong. From love to hatred to anger to sadness to happiness. To joy, which I think is a mood more like. You don't hate joy. One of the secondary emotion. What brings joy a lot of times is you have happiness or some good feeling and you hold on to it for a while, it leads to joy. All right. Depression is also, in my opinion, a secondary feeling. You don't get depressed because you heard bad news. You don't get depressed because you lost money or you lost a job. No, you get sad, you get angry, you get irritated, you get into one of those other natural basic feelings. If you hold on to the feeling long enough, it will lead to depression. And in today's world, people commit suicide, people do all kinds of things, kill other people out of depression. That's how strong, or let me put it this way, how important your feelings are. Feelings are extremely important. They're extremely important. Feelings can move you to do twice as much. You failed at something, somebody points it out to you. You really want to prove yourself to that person, that you do extra work to get it done. I can go on and on. Feelings can serve as motivators, as fuel for what we do. Every entrepreneur, for instance, requires passion. Passion is what keeps you going when the business fails the first time, the second time, and you still keep going at it. Feelings are very important. How do I know? Let me give you a simple thing to think about. Have you ever had an altercation with somebody early in the morning, or something really bad that you consider bad that is happened to you in the morning, and for the rest of the day, or for 2 hours in a day, or for 3 hours in a day, you can't concentrate, you can't work? You know what happened? You've had an amygdala hijack. Your amygdala is somewhere here where all your feelings sit. When a strong feeling is triggered, it creates a roadblock on the expressway to your thinking brain. So the feeling stays here and you keep rolling around in it. And here's the interesting thing. The more you think about the trigger for your anger, the angrier you get, the less you think. What we expect people to do is to learn to think and feel side by side. Brings us to the concept of emotional intelligence. Is it a function of your heart, or assuming your heart is a feeling part? Your heart is an organ, remember, but we use the heart to represent you in your feeling state. So is it a function of your heart or your brain? Which one should we even pay attention to the most? The way we feel or the way we think? By the way, you get to the feeling brain before the thinking brain. I have been studying emotional intelligence for years. I've been interviewed on the biggest news network in the country, Nigeria, today on the subject of emotional intelligence. I've read several books. I've delivered several trainings, webinars, seminars on the subject. I think it is such an important tool in today's world to be emotionally intelligent. In fact, the World Economic Forum says by 2025, if you don't have the skill of being emotionally intelligent, you will not be a successful person. In the place of work, in relationships, in your career, in your business, emotions account for, or how you address emotional issues, account for 65% of the success you would ever achieve in life. And the best definition of emotional intelligence I have is to be smart with your feelings. The feelings will come, you can't avoid them. How do you smartly deal with them? The best definition from a more philosophical or a more more philosophical perspective I've ever heard came from this guy called Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman described emotional intelligence in two parts. In the first part, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, know which feeling this is. And not all feelings, not everybody understands which feeling is which. For instance, people think anger and frustration are the same. No, anger is displeasure with what's going on. It can happen now, it can be triggered now, or from a past memory. Frustration is doing something over and over again, but not getting the result. So recognizing the feeling is the first part of Daniel Goleman's definition. The ability to recognize, understand the feeling. What triggered it? How do I respond to it? How does my body respond to it? Some people get angry and their heart beats fast. So some people, they have butterflies in their stomach when they are nervous. I can go on and on. Recognize, understand, then manage your own feelings. Recognize, understand, and then manage your own feelings. But you can't stop there. You can't assume that because you're a great driver, you will never be involved in an accident. Some people are not great drivers. They're on the same road with you. Some drive under the influence. Some have vision impairment. I can go on and on with reasons why you can still be in an accident, even though you manage you and your car well. Same thing with emotions. So the second part of his definition is emotional intelligence, first of all, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own feelings, but also recognize, understand, and influence the feelings of other people. The feelings of other people are not within your control. It's always important to note that. But you can influence them. You can't start speaking about being emotionally intelligent until you first of all conquer you, which is why Plato said the first and best victory is to conquer you first. Now, Daniel Goleman splits, or he says there are 5 dimensions, 5 parts, 5 components of an emotionally intelligent person. The first one is self-awareness, just basically knowing who you are. So if I give you a form to fill today, what's your best color, your best food, your best friend? What would you do in this situation? Can you answer the same questions honestly in the same way over a 10-year period? Or even now, do you know you? Do you know what triggers something in you? Do you know what you are allergic to? Do you know what you like and don't like? You have to know you first. You can't go around trying to drive and say there will be no accidents when you can't sort you out first. And there are some tools you can use to know you. Self-awareness is the beginning of emotional intelligence. You must know you first. You would know what you will tolerate and not tolerate, what you will take and not take, what you like to eat, you don't like to eat, stuff like that. Now, there are 2 tools you can use to know yourself better, and I'll run through them real quick. The first is very popular, the SWOT analysis. Now, take a pen and a jotter. Right now, as you're listening to me, take your pen. I have a pen here. I'll always have writing material. And write 3 strengths, things you are good at, things you enjoy doing and you can do for free. Write them down now. All right, 3 things you are good at. Anything that comes to mind that I enjoy doing this, I can do it for free, I'm good at it, and it's internal to you, write it down. That's for your strengths. For your weaknesses, write 3 things you don't like doing, you don't know how to do, and you are displeased with doing it whenever you're given. You rather pass it on to someone else. Those are your weaknesses. When you find your strengths, you should let the world know, especially people in your circle. You connect better when you have strengths and you have values and people know them. So whatever your strength is, put it out there. So people say I have a gift of the gab. I can speak eloquently. I believe them too because I like the thought of it. So I wanted word to go out that if you need someone to speak or someone to do a training, call me. And I spent years just communicating to the world, this is my strength, this is my strength, this is my strength. Because strengths attract opportunities. Oh, they didn't call me. They didn't know you could do it. Don't blame them. Weaknesses are things you're not good at. What can you do with weaknesses? 1 of 2 things. You can improve yourself in the area of weakness so that you can become better at it, or you can outsource it. Let someone else do it for you. You can ask them nicely, you can do a trade, or you can pay them for it. And opportunities are favorable conditions outside of you, in your environment, in your workplace, in the marketplace, and threats are unfavorable conditions outside of you. If you do a SWOT analysis of yourself, and you can look this up on the internet and do some more work, or watch out for my book, which is coming out early in January next year. If you understand this very well, you know how to navigate life better and build better connections. Another tool is the Johari window. Now, this shows a matrix with 4 quadrants. What is in each of these quadrants in your open area or the arena? Information there is information about you that you know and other people know. I like food. Forgive me. People know that. Even if I don't eat a lot of food, I talk about it enough for people to say, Ron likes food. When I'm coming to your party, prepare food. When you're arranging dinner for people or lunch at the training venue, pay attention to Kuros food. Your blind spot is the area where there's information about you that you don't know, but other people know. For instance, if you snore, how did you know the first time that you snore? Somebody told you. If you want information from your blind spot to move to your open area, then you need to begin to take feedback and use feedback properly. Some people really hate feedback. But you can't grow if you don't learn to use feedback. And in connecting with people, some people will give you direct feedback, indirect feedback, subtle feedback. To grow your relationships and build better connections, you must know what feedback is good for. It's good for your growth. If you didn't know you snored, you would go out on a call with your boss And during the road trip, you will snore the entire journey, and your boss will be looking at you awkwardly throughout, or your husband or wife, or that girl you just asked out, or that guy who just asked you out. And you want your connections to be deep, you have to know these things. In the hidden area, there's information about you that you don't know. You know, but people don't know. And so some things about you people don't know. You should make a decision whether you want to keep it there or let them know. Then there's the unknown area. In the unknown area, you don't know this thing about you. People don't know this thing about you. The more you move information to your open area, the stronger and deeper your connections will get over time. So that's the first component of emotional intelligence. The second one is self-regulation. When you feel a certain way, can you regulate yourself? Everything created to regulate temperature, air conditioners, microwave ovens, electric kettles, they have something they can turn on or turn off that will regulate temperature. Can you regulate you? Oh, when I'm angry, nobody can speak to me. You are going to die. Because you'll be angry, you will fight with the wrong person, you will say the wrong things, and remain in your anger until somebody angry comes and pops one in you. Self-motivation is number 3. Now, first of all, to motivate is to give someone a reason to do something. All right? To motivate is to give someone a reason to do something. You must be able to motivate yourself and not wait on other people to motivate you. People rely on extrinsic motivation. Oh, if I do it, they will pay me more. I will get this thing. I will win this thing. It's good, but it's not as strong as intrinsic motivation, a desire by yourself to do stuff. And the fastest and easiest and most potent way to motivate yourself from within is to set goals. If you set a goal, it drives you. My goal going into university was have a second class upper division. That's how we rank it in Nigeria. There's first class and second class upper. I don't want first class. Second class upper division is fine by me. So get that rating or that grade so that getting a job will be easy. And then have no extra years, because an extra year meant more money. So, get into banking, I had a goal. I set goals yearly about simple stuff, sometimes complex stuff. Do you have goals at all? Do you have goals for your career? Do you have goals for your life? You should be setting goals for the 8 dimensions of you I mentioned earlier, your spiritual life. What would you read? What would you consume? Would you pray more? Would you pay attention to deeper things more? Your intellect, what do you take in? What do you watch? How many books do you read in a whole year? Your finances, do you want to create a budget and stick to it if you can? You want to make more money? What will you do to make more money? Your career, your social relationships, your physical state. Do you want to sleep more? Do you want to eat better? And do you want to exercise? You need to set goals in your life. And this is a great time of any year to set goals. People think goals are things you set towards the end of the year or at the beginning. No, you can set goals today. New Year resolutions don't turn out to be real goals because we say them as wishful thinking. We make no plans around them. Set goals. Goals motivate you to do more. And your goals should be smart. They should be specific. First of all, you can't say, my goal is to be rich at the end of 2025 or 2030. That's a wish. It's not a goal. If it must be a goal, it must first be specific. I want to have $10 million liquid cash to my name by December 31st, 2024. That means, essentially, your goal is specific, $10 million, is measurable. How many months are there to the end of that period? How much must you make every month before you get there? Is it achievable? It's up to you. Do you have a source of income? Is there something you are doing? You want to improve on what you are doing already? You gauge whether it's achievable or not first. Some things are not achievable. Some people say, but they said you should set stretch goals. I know. So in the country, Nigeria, okay, let's assume in America, the Constitution says anybody who must be president must be 40 years of age first. You are 22. You want to be American president in 2024. It's not achievable. Except they change the entire Constitution. So there are some things that are not achievable, so you should pay attention to that. They should be realistic and they should be timely as well. But you see, goals, even smart goals, sometimes don't get achieved because something outside of you happened. So you can set smarter goals. Review your goals once in a while after you evaluate them. If you put ER in front of smart, it gives you smarter. Set smarter goals. The fourth of the components of emotional intelligence leads me here. Now, these two guys are correct. The difference in their response is their perspective. Where do they stand? The person who sees 6 can see 6 from his own side. The one who sees 9 sees 9 from his own side. There's no wrong answer here. Many people think in conversation that once you are correct, the next person is wrong. That is not always true. Your perspectives could simply differ. Empathy, number 4, is seeing things from the eyes of the other person. And then, of course, there are social skills. You need to relate with people. You need to learn to talk to people, be friendly with people. People should think about you and think about certain things about you that makes you want to, makes them want to be in your space again. In fact, we put it this way: learn to speak so people like to listen to you, and learn to listen so people like to speak to you. Ask yourself today, when people in your connect think about you, what thoughts come to their mind? Let's say the guy, that lazy babe. That guy is always lying. That one that has no integrity. Great guy. This guy always has value. This babe always has. What do people think about? What adjectives do they use to qualify you when your thoughts come to their mind? You can't be emotionally intelligent without learning communication. And Alfred Merabian said once, we believe his survey, that communication is only 7% the thing you said. It's 38% the way you said it, and it's 55% your body language. So just saying it is not enough. The way you said it is more important than what you said. And on the phone, on the mobile phone, there's no body language. There's no body language when I'm on the phone. You can't see my body language. So your voice tone, your tone, your modulation, your pauses, the way you say it become more important, and you need to pay attention to that. You can't build deep connections if you don't pay attention to how you communicate. The way you speak, your tone, all of those things, extremely important. In fact, just think before you speak. Because once you say something, you can't take it back. You can apologize for it. You can change behavior to reflect it. You can't take it back. If you can just think before you speak, if you can pause before you respond to something, it usually helps a lot. Okay? Now with connections, everybody needs connections. First, there's the 6 degrees of separation that says between you and anybody on earth, you only need 6 dots, 6 connect points. All right? But beyond that, Dumba has the Dumba's number. Dumba says, before I get to the Dumba's number, connections, sometimes people see connections and say, we expect that connections only reflect people in their close relationships, like in marriages and all that. Not necessarily. Connections can happen outside of such very close or intimate relationships. You could have connection with your God, the supreme being that you believe in. And some people don't, some people do. You could have connection with other people, even things. You could have connection with things. All right? But connections are extremely important. Now, with people, Dumba says there is a certain number of people you can manage and have in a close network. 5 is obviously family, usually nuclear family. 15 would go into extended family. Some have larger extended families. You can do 50 and still manage. In fact, Dumba says the ideal number for a healthy number of people, the ideal number for a healthy group of people in your life that you can keep strong relations with would be 150. But guess what? With technology, you can do more. Broadcast lists, WhatsApp groups, communicating without calling, just sending text messages. And tech makes it exponential. So you can also use tech to grow those connections where you are. Now, I've asked the question before about your mindset. What is your mindset? How do things get interpreted when they get into your head? How do you see the rest of the world? This guy doesn't like me. This one hates me. You may be feeling. Note, to feel is to surmise, to assume something is true without fact. You may be thinking. Your experiences can shape it, but you need to question your mindset. You need to question your mindset. Your mindset determines how you interpret the world and do everything you do, including connecting with people. Do you constantly feel when you go out with other people, somebody would embarrass you or you would embarrass yourself? Do you constantly feel people will look at you with less value because you go out to hang out with them. What do you think? What mindset do you have? All right. You need to question that mindset, and you can improve your mindset, grow your mindset, change your mindset by paying attention to these things. The first is what you watch. Information going to your brain over time. Same information keeps going in. Your mind begins to say, this is the way the world works. Some people believe that some countries, everywhere you go, there's money on the street. Some people believe there are no poor people in some countries. Some believe in some countries there's black magic everywhere. It's because of what you watch. It's not the same. It's not exactly what is shown out there. So what you watch is the first thing you should pay attention to. What you read is something else. What are you reading? I'm not talking of novels or books only, self-help books and all, or textbooks. What do you read in the news? What do you expose yourself to? Who are the people around you? They say you are the average of the 5 people you most hang out with. Check the 5 people you most hang out with today. Create a dossier for each of them. Broke, buoyant. Positive mindset, negative mindset. Fixed mindset, growth mindset. Happy, always sad. Angry, always lively. Create a dossier for them. The 5 people you most hang out with. Begin to check that against who you are. If you are the 6th person in a group of billionaires, you will make money. If you're a 6th person in a group of smokers, even if it's secondary smoke, you will smoke. If you're a 6th person, so always check, even though you're growing great connections, check those networks, people around you, and of course, what you listen to. I'll give you a simple example. There's a song I used to listen to, and I really like the groove of it, that uses the word travailler, Trabaye. Google the definition. To travailler is to act out of order, act out of character under the influence of hard drugs. And I told myself, Kuro, you don't travailler, so I'm going to stop listening to the song. None of this is foolproof yet. We're still working them through and through. All right. Now, this is key. This also speaks to the way your mind works, your mindset. We do not see things the way those things are. We see things the way we are. Now, look at this rhinoceros and all the paintings the rhinoceros is making. You will notice that the rhinoceros keeps painting its own horn in front of every picture. That's what the rhinoceros sees. So what lens or glasses are you looking through to view the world? The people around you, the person you call annoying, the reason why you don't have great connections, the reason why you don't pursue that degree, the reason why you think this is not for you, the reason why you think you can't. What lens are you using, or lenses rather, are you using to look at the world? Because you will see those first before you see the rest of the world. We don't see things the way the things are. We see things the way we are. And there's something called confirmation bias. Somebody says something to you that you believe in already. You accept it quickly. They say something to you you don't believe in already. You discard it quickly. I will give you 7 quick tips that you can use to create a proper, not perfect, but a proper blend of your emotional intelligence, which talks about you and other people, by the way. First, there's self-awareness, knowing yourself, self-regulation, managing yourself, self-motivation, inspiring, motivating yourself. But there are 2 others that speak about you and other people: empathy and social skills. Now, these tips will bring the session to a close. Please note, if you have questions to ask, you can go to the, if you are listening to me now, drop questions, or go to the place where you've seen this and drop your questions, then we can send them to you as answers later. My name again is Kuro John Ngobo. You can look me up on social media, but for today, if this didn't happen, if these tips didn't come up, I won't have done a good job, or I won't have finished what I came here to do. So pay attention to these tips. The first one is you must learn to network deliberately. Deliberately seek quality people that you want in your life. And you can't network with people by expecting them to call you first, by expecting them to reach out to you. If you want to network with me, you should be doing the reaching out at the beginning. And over time, we can iron or we can smoothen things out. But be deliberate about it. If you want people who are intellectuals to be in your space, ask yourself, where do intellectuals go? Conferences, webinars, seminars, maybe some kind of concerts. You should go there. If you want junkies, people who take hard drugs all the time, you know where to find them. You want to find religious people, you know where to find them. Network deliberately and let people come into your space because you need people. And don't assume that in that network, people will only be giving you value. Some people worry about the quality of relationships they have when, quite frankly, they don't give value to other people. They just take. You can't keep taking value from people and expect that they won't tire out someday. Relationships are meant to be two-way, symbiotic. So any relationship you have today that is failing, question the amount of value you give to the relationship. And by the way, value doesn't just mean money. It could be information. It could be so many things. Number 3, understand that people are different. You are different from me. I'm different from somebody else. Even the people that we've been married to for 50 years are still two different people. They just learn to, work things together and understand one another better. Why would you then expect, even twins, can be different. So why would you expect that anybody in the world thinks like you? But you should know. I don't say that to people anymore. You shouldn't know. I should tell you so that you then know. Then we can decide on how to move forward. Don't show up only when you have a need for people. If you want to have deep connections, you only call when you need something. After a while, they won't pick your call. It's human nature. All right? Manage perception. Manage how people see you, how they perceive you. Check yourself properly. If you don't know if you have things that could push people away, like a body odor or a mouth odor, you can test it. As I'm speaking to you now, lick the back of your hand. Lick it gently. Wait for a few seconds, and then smell it. If you have a mouth odor, you would know. Learn how to do things to change it. People will not want to come close to you and speak to you face to face if they know you have a mouth odor, no matter how much value you are giving. I've had it, so don't worry about where I'm getting my information from. Do you have a body odor? You may. We talk about these things in our sessions. Remove your undergarments, especially your top. If you've worn a top, remove it and smell it when you get home every day. Sniff your body. You have a nose for that reason. Simple things can change how people perceive you. And then, of course, use emotional intelligence. You now know what it means, or the starting point. Look out for the book when it comes out and pick one to break it down a little more. And mind your mindset. When something happens to you, ask yourself, why am I thinking this way? This feeling I have, is it correct? You think your country, whichever country you are in, is a dead country. Please leave. Leave immediately. You can't help the country progress if you think that the country is dead. All right? I have a prayer of my own that I put out there, and I say it, to God, I say it to myself. It's like my own affirmation, but it's actually a call for, or a demand for something plus an affirmation. And I share this whenever I get a chance to. So it says, simply put, Lord, bless me with work. Why? Because my mindset is that if you want money, you should work for it. In fact, in the Bible, I believe in Christ, and I read the Bible every now and then. It says, he who does not work should not eat. My own belief about how to get money to eat is to work. So guess how that mindset leads to the way I pray. Lord, bless me with work first. Then after that, bless me with strength, because if I'm sick, I can't do it. And wisdom, because I can't do well without wisdom. Bless me with the strength and wisdom to do the work professionally and diligently, as if I'm working unto you, God, and not unto the people who've called me to do the work. Because if I do it that way, I do it irrespective of how badly they do things. They are not prepared enough, and I still do my work and give 110%. So bless me with work and the strength and wisdom to do the work professionally and diligently, as if unto you and not unto man, so that the man I work for will pay me full value for it. I will glorify you for the opportunity to work and be a blessing to my world, bring more work to other people, all of those things. This is my prayer. And I think you should craft a prayer of your own as well, around connections, around how you manage you and what you want to achieve in life. All right. I've said this before. If you have questions, you'll be guided on how to send them in. But thank you very, very much for listening in for 1 full hour. Thereabout that the session has lasted for. In fact, it's 58 minutes. Yeah, in fact, 1 hour now. My name is Kuro John Ngoba. I've enjoyed speaking. I hope it touches somebody's life, helps you begin to look at the way you do things more and more. And you can reach out to my colleague and I, or my colleagues and I, through any of these contacts. Purple Trading and Consulting is the firm I represent, or I am speaking for at this point in time. Look us up on the internet at purpleplethora.com.ng, or you can also go ahead and send us messages or reach out to any of us. Thank you very much. That brings me to the end of the session, and I will hand over to my colleague who will take it up from here. Thank you, and have a fantastic lifetime. Not fantastic weekend, not fantastic evening or day, a fantastic lifetime. Thank you. Bye.